18-year-old was convicted of shooting 6 students, killing 3, and given 3 life terms without parole last month.
To count 1, we, the jury, sentenced the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, to life imprisonment with the possibility of parole, close quote. If you cannot agree to the sentence for the defendant as to first-degree murder, your verdict will be as follows.
What happens when kids trade in their backpacks for prison jumpsuits and life sentences usually reserved for the most ruthless criminals? These are cases handed to kids who did the unthinkable. From creepy confessions to courtroom meltdowns, today we'll uncover how these young offenders face their fate behind bars. Here are the 20 most dangerous young criminals reacting to life in prison. Number 20, Dexter Johnson. In 2006, Dexter Johnson and his gang's brutal crime spree left 2 young lives shattered. After carjacking 23-year-old Maria Aparicio and her boyfriend, 17-year-old Humo, Johnson's gang took the couple to a secluded area where their nightmare began. The perpetrators forced themselves on Maria, and both victims lost their lives due to the use of a firearm. It wasn't long before Aparicio's stolen credit card led police straight to Johnson, and the truth was revealed. At his trial, Johnson was convicted of intentional homicide and sentenced to death. When the sentence was read aloud, his reaction was complete shock. He couldn't stand up, and chaos erupted in the courtroom. His family was overcome with emotion, and the situation became so intense that officers had to call for medical help. Just as one shocking verdict faded, another story of youth and tragedy emerged from the courtroom. Number 19, Lionel Tate. Imagine being just 14 years old and getting sentenced to life in prison. The story of this teen begins with a heartbreaking accident and the life of a 6-year-old girl, Tiffany Eunuch. On that fateful day, Tiffany's mother left her in the care of a friend believing she was safe. Meanwhile, Lionel, imitating violent wrestling moves he had seen on TV, took things too far. Moments later, he rushed downstairs in a panic, claiming Tiffany had stopped breathing. Her injuries were so severe they resembled a fall from 3 stories. It was an accident, but the outcome was tragic. In Florida, intent didn't matter. It was the consequences that counted. When it was time for his life sentence, Lionel surprisingly showed no emotion. He remained emotionless throughout. Was he too young to understand the weight of his actions, or was there something deeper? One thing is true, not all young offenders show the same bewildering calm. In fact, some displayed chilling indifference and even pride. Number 18, T.J. Lane. On February 27, 2012, Chardon High School became the scene of a nightmare that no one could have predicted. At 7:30 a.m., 17-year-old T.J. Lane entered the cafeteria and opened fire on a group of unsuspecting classmates. In seconds, 6 students were rushed to the hospital. 3 of them tragically passed away, and 1 more was left permanently paralyzed, unable to walk again. When he was arrested, the chilling truth came to light. This wasn't an accident. It was a cold, calculated act of violence. During his trial, Lane's lack of remorse was shocking. In fact, he seemed almost proud of what he had done, saying, "My family will move on, not you." On March 19, 2013, Lane was sentenced to 3 life sentences without the possibility of parole. His indifference in court left the families of the victims in disbelief, but not all young offenders are so emotionally detached. Number 17, Antonio Barbo. Sheboygan Falls, Wisconsin, was known for its peaceful streets until one fateful night in September 2012 when everything changed. 78-year-old Barbara Olson, a beloved grandmother, was found lifeless in her garage. At first it seemed like an accident, but the truth was far more chilling. Antonio Barbo, her own great-grandson, was behind this horrifying crime. Antonio, along with his friend Nathan Pop, concocted a plan to rob Barbara, but things quickly escalated when Antonio armed himself with a hatchet and told Pop they were going to scare her to get money and then use force if needed. That's when the plan took a dark turn. Antonio attacked his grandmother with brutal force, inflicting over 25 devastating injuries. When Antonio faced his moment of reckoning, he tried to show remorse, but was it too little too late? In the case of Alyssa Bustamante, remorse never came at all, just a chilling void of emotion. Number 16, Alyssa Bustamante. What makes a 15-year-old brutally end the life of a child? That was a haunting question in 2009 when Alyssa Bustamante lured 9-year-old Elizabeth Alton into the woods, struck her many times with a blade, and then disposed of the remains, all just for the thrill of it. The quiet town of St. Martins, Missouri, was shaken to its core. Bustamante, described as a troubled but intelligent child, had even ducked the grave days before, proof that this was no impulsive act. During questioning, she coldly admitted she wanted to know what it felt like to end someone's life. Soon her trial became a media sensation. Some argued that at just 15 she couldn't fully grasp the weight of her crime. Others believed Elizabeth never got a second chance, so why should Bustamante? Ultimately, the judge agreed with the latter, handing down a life sentence with parole eligibility after 35 years. As the verdict was read, Bustamante showed no emotion, stating the main reason for accepting the offer was to avoid the absolute certainty of life without parole. Unlike Alyssa, another teen mocked the very justice system that tried to hold him accountable. Number 15, Michael Swanson. November 2010, a quiet night in northern Iowa. Gas station clerk Sheila Myers and Vicky Bowman Hall were simply getting through their shifts until a teenage psychopath walked through the door. Michael Swanson demanded cigarettes and cash, then without hesitation ended both women's lives in cold blood using a firearm. Hours later, Swanson wasn't hiding or panicking. He was casually ordering food at McDonald's, his stolen Jeep, ski mask, and weapon all in plain sight. When police arrested him, he barely reacted. In court, he treated the trial like a press tour, smirking at reporters and soaking in the attention. His defense argued insanity, but when given the chance to speak, he didn't deny a thing. The judge ruled him incredibly dangerous and beyond saving. When the life sentence finally came through, Swanson shocked everyone by laughing in their faces. It's cold-blooded murder, young man. While Swanson's brutal actions unfolded with a disturbing sense of calm, Caleb Sharp's shocking outburst revealed a different kind of deadly impulse. Number 14, Caleb Sharp. At just 15 years old, Sharp gave a cryptic warning to his friend saying he was about to do something stupid, but no one could have imagined how horrifying his actions would be. On that fateful day, Sharp stalked the hallways of his school like a predator on the hunt. His first victim, 15-year-old Sam Strahan, bravely tried to stop him but tragically lost his life as Sharp opened fire directly at him. 3 other students were injured in the madness, but the quick thinking of teachers and staff prevented even more bloodshed. Sharp's actions would haunt the community for years, and it took 5 long years before his case even went to trial. When it did, more than 200 people gave heartbreaking impact statements. Though emotionless in court, Sharp did offer an apology, admitting the unimaginable pain he had caused and acknowledging the PTSD left behind. When the judge sentenced him to 30 years in prison in 2022, Sharp's reaction was subdued. There was no visible shock or remorse, just the same blank stare that haunted the courtroom throughout the trial. Most of all, I am sorry to Amy and Emily for taking Sam from them. I know these are just words. As Caleb Sharp's case sent shockwaves through Spokane, the chilling story of Robert and Michael Bever takes us into a different realm of horror. Number 13, Robert and Michael Bever. On July 22nd, 2015, a chilling 911 call from 12-year-old Daniel Bever would unravel another nightmare in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Desperate and terrified, Daniel called 911 warning that his family was under attack, but before he could say more, the line went dead. When police arrived, they found a horrific scene. 5 members of the Bever family had been brutally slain. Daniel was wounded but alive, and the youngest child, just 2 years old, had miraculously survived. The real shock came from 13-year-old Crystal Bever. Injured, she named the attackers. It was her own brothers, 18-year-old Robert and 16-year-old Michael. Eventually the two were arrested nearby, but what happened next left everyone stunned. Robert and Michael had planned the massacre to make a name for themselves. Craving infamy, they showed no remorse throughout the trial, remaining emotionless as they were sentenced to life behind bars. Oklahoma law says Michael Bever, who was 16 during his family's murders, is an adult in the eyes of the law. The Bever brothers' quest for infamy was chilling, but Aiden Fuchs's case shows that the thirst for notoriety can push even the youngest to commit horrific acts. Number 12, Aiden Fucci. At just 14 years old, Aiden Fucci committed a crime so brutal it left no room for sympathy. His victim was 13-year-old Tristan Bailey, a fellow classmate from Patriot Oaks Academy in Florida. Fucci lured her into the woods and attacked her multiple times with a knife. What made it even more chilling was his disturbing reaction after committing the crime. While Tristan's family was searching for her, Fucci was snapping selfies in the back of a cop car, making jokes about the crime. Eventually, surveillance footage sealed his fate. Aiden was seen walking with Tristan just before the attack and sprinting away from the crime scene minutes later. The autopsy revealed a sheer brutality, with 49 defensive wounds, 35 to the head and neck, 29 to the back and shoulders, and 6 fatal injuries. When Fucci pleaded guilty, the judge made it clear that the right sentence would be life in prison, though because of his age he would be eligible for review after 25 years. There's no doubt Aiden's coldness was chilling. However, Philip Chisholm's case shows how quickly a moment of madness can turn deadly. Number 11. Philip Chisholm. It was October 2013 when 14-year-old Philip Chisholm, a quiet student at Danvers High School in Massachusetts, snapped. Colleen Ritzer, a beloved 24-year-old teacher, was known for her kindness and dedication to helping students. But when Chisholm stayed after school for a test review, something inside him shifted. Reports say he grew agitated and started muttering to himself before following Ritzer into the school bathroom where horror unfolded. First, Chisholm assaulted her and then attacked her with a knife. After the brutal attack, he hid her body in the woods. Then, in a chilling move, used her credit card to buy a movie ticket while authorities desperately searched for both the teacher and student. Chisholm eventually led police to her remains, proving this was no accident but a calculated crime. Tried as an adult, he was sentenced to life in prison with parole only possible after 40 years. As the verdict was read, Ritz's mother wept while Chisholm stood expressionless, completely unremorseful. This case shook many people, but James Fairweather's twisted desire for notoriety escalated the horror to an entirely different level. Number 10. James Fairweather. James Fairweather was a 15-year-old with one goal: to get famous no matter the cost. Colchester was shattered on March 24, 2014, when a man discovered James Atfield's lifeless body. The perpetrator was Fairweather, who had fatally injured James with a knife multiple times. Just 3 months later, the same brutal violence struck again. Nahid Almania, a 31-year-old student at the University of Essex, was brutally attacked on the Salary Brook Trail footpath. 2 merciless attacks, both traced back to one chilling figure, James Fairweather. The real shock came when the 15-year-old was caught hiding in the bushes after a passing woman spotted him. His chilling confession sent shivers down spines. He claimed voices had urged him to commit unspeakable acts. In court, he tried to escape justice by claiming mental illness, but his plea was rejected. In the end, a life sentence became his fate. My voices are talking to me. You need to make a sacrifice. This teen may have gone down in history for seeking fame through violence. However, Nehemiah Griego's chilling plan escalated to a massacre that would forever haunt his family and community.